What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon DaVinci, leader of the Renaissance Crew, and you're watching DaVinci Reacts. If you guys aren't caught up with it yet, right now this is like a little mini-series, part 3 of a set of videos that were done by both AlternateHistoryHub and Emperor Tiger Star, in which they talk about a scenario about the South winning the Civil War and what history would have been like had that happened. I already done 2 videos for them. One was Alternate History Hub. The second video was Emperor Tiger Star. Third video is Alternate History Hub again, and then they're going to go back to Tiger Star for the last video. So this is part 3. If you haven't been keeping up so far, the northern United States has taken over Canada. The Confederate States have taken over North Mexico, but they're really starting to lose a lot of ground to the north after, I believe that was World War I. And because the southern United States were on the losing side of the war, World War I, they were hit very hard with the Treaty of Versailles or something equivalent to it. So now they have this figure that is saying that they can fix everything and are rising to power. Sounds familiar? That's because it should. Now let's see exactly how this turns out. This video is called A World Where the South Turns Fascist. Let's jump into this. Oh yeah, also before I start, the original video is in the link in the description box. I highly encourage you to, if you want to show the original content creator support, click it, watch it again, or watch it before you watch my reaction. If you don't want to watch it twice, right click it, open it in a new window or tab, then play it, put it on mute, and watch this video. By the time this video is done, the other video will be completed. You would have given them the view so they can get the ad revenue from it, and you wouldn't really have to worry about watching it twice. But, you know, give them a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And with that being said, let's jump into it.
Well, that only took 2 months. Harry Turtledove's Southern Victory series imagined a world where the American Civil War ended with the Confederate States of America becoming its own independent nation. The end to one conflict, however, is merely the start of a century of hatred between the two former allies. It's a century that spans over 9 books, and in the case of this YouTube series, 4 parts. In this video series, Emperor Tiger Star and I are focusing on the world and history that Turtledove crafted. Timeline 191.
God damn it, South or Confederacy, why did you have to be so racist? I love the music that comes out of Dixie, I guess it's called, but I can't enjoy it. Why? Why did you have to be racist? God damn it. Because the southern United States is probably the one area of the United States that actually has a rather unique culture. Like you talk about like Texas, Louisiana. Well, Florida technically has a culture, but I mean, it's like batshit crazy. No, that's literally the culture, batshit crazy. So we don't really celebrate it, but it is unique. And damn it, it just feels bad that my history in that area is not great. Damn it.
Alliances are shifted and victories are changed simply because the South is now a force to be reckoned with. These videos are meant for those who are interested in the scenario but don't want to go through the novels themselves. They aren't summaries of character motivations or plot-by-plot details, just the simple big history of events that transpired and why they transpired. But hey, perhaps after listening to this, you want to get into the books as a result. Who knows? The 2 past videos, part 1 and 2, go into detail on what exactly happened. However, to catch everyone up, here is a brief summary of what occurred in the 60 years since the South was victorious. The South won the American Civil War back in the 1860s. An invasion of the North by Robert E. Lee's forces was successful, and it was a slap in the face to the Union cause. The Union was forced by the British and French to allow the Confederates to break away, and the war ends in Southern independence. This forever destroys the relationship between the North and these two. A few decades later, the South tries to get Mexican land. The US threatens war. Knowing there is no way they can win without these two helping, the South realizes it won't get help without getting rid of slavery. And so, even though it goes against much of their code, slavery is officially disbanded and the South gets help. War breaks out. The United States gains the German Empire as a friend, but it doesn't stop it from being beat yet again by the coalition. Instead of the US being united for a single alliance, it's now split. The North aligns itself with the Central Powers against the British and French allied Confederates. Surprise, surprise, war breaks out yet again. World War I, the Great War. In this alternate timeline, the war is also on the American homeland. The North American front is just as brutal as the Western and Eastern fronts of Europe. Union and Confederate forces stalemate at the Mason-Dixon line
due to trench
as
warfare.
A hellscape of trench warfare begins to take shape. Since the British are enemies, the US invades the populated areas of Canada and permanently occupies the territory. The war in Europe goes entirely different. The French mutiny and surrender. Custer, who survived, introduces the first use of tank warfare, or barrel warfare, against the Confederate lines. While the front line collapsed, the oppressed blacks in the South had enough and rebelled against the Confederates. A socialist black rebellion spread throughout the Mississippi Valley. Valuable resources are used to destroy the uprising, but it's enough that the North can break through. The South is defeated. The British are defeated. World War I ends with a Central Powers victory. Germany gains territory, the US gains Kentucky, part of Texas, and Canada. So, I think we're all caught up.
Except for
it's
Quebec.
The 1920s, only a few years after the war. The South is now devastated by the loss of this. Feeling victorious by winning 1 out of 3, the United States punishes the South for the war. Pretty much just what happened in Germany. War reparations, limit on military, you get the point. And just like in our Germany, being subject to humiliating defeat and punishment from your enemies doesn't mend ties. The atmosphere in the 1920s North America is that there will be another conflict. It seems that the North and South are just destined to forever clash. However, as of now, the Confederates are too weak to do anything against the US, but one man is willing to change that, even if that means he controls the Confederates himself. And his name was Jake Featherston. Really should have been a better name.
Yeah, Featherston is not a great name.
Jake Featherston served in the war against America. Never being allowed to be promoted due to a grudge from the officers, he became bitter towards much of the authority from Southern higher-ups. The capitalist, aristocrats, officers, politicians, he wanted to wipe the slate clean. Not only that, he blamed the socialist black rebels for stabbing the South in the back and causing them to lose the war. Well, luckily for him, he found a new ideology that embraced his hatred of everyone but himself. The the Freedom Party. Featherston had a knack for expressing.
Yeah. In America, you can guarantee that if right-wing fascist political party were to try to rise, they would try to hide themselves behind patriotism. Like something with freedom, something with liberty, something with republic, something with democratic, like something tied to the American ideal, or the ideal of what America is. Like, I guarantee you that's exactly what they would do. It's crazy.
His views and gained popularity for his rousing speeches against the blacks and politicians who were destroying the Confederacy. I think you can see where this character arc is going. The South losing the Great War created the situation where a new authoritarian leader and ideology would rise to take over the Confederate States of America. Over the course of the 1920s and 30s, the Confederates see the Freedom Party in a far better light due to rousing speeches and economic decline. Basically, a substitute for these guys. But what else was occurring while this guy was gaining popularity? The United States was dealing with its own ideological insurrection as well. Unlike our 1920s, this US wasn't roaring. In fact, jobs were still difficult to come by, and the poor were turning to more radical beliefs. socialism wasn't as hated in the US as in our timeline. Instead, socialists began to win major victories in elections, becoming the new rivals to the Democrats, who had sat pretty comfortably for decades since the Republican Party had died. The author of The Jungle, Upton Sinclair, an avid socialist, which was what the book was meant to be about by the way, ran for president against Teddy Roosevelt and won the election. Sinclair, trying to be peaceful, eased reparations, allowing the South to have a more favored view towards the North. Well, this wouldn't last for long. As we all ask in times like this, what about Canada? When Canada was annexed, the US allowed the French Canadians to form their own separate puppet state, Quebec. When this happened, the two countries joined the Quadruple Powers, which made up of Germany, Poland, a German puppet state, the United States, and Quebec, a US puppet state. The best way to illustrate the state of North America is a layered cake of tension. Yeah, that's not a stupid analogy at all. Canadians, who are occupied by Americans, hate the United States and long for the days of being British, or Canadians, or whatever Quebec is. This becomes such an issue that insurrections begin to erupt and even assassination attempts on American leaders. For decades, there's practically a secret war in Canada as rebels fight to maintain their identity. Think of the United States as the black sheep of the English-speaking world. While the Confederates are allies to Britain, the US actively fights against it and sides with the Germans instead. It's a very strange dynamic as the Americans are increasingly isolated by people who speak their own language. The British look at Protestant rebellions and, just like the Confederates, long for the days where they were once the great power of the world. And the French do too. We'll count them in this. Just slowly building resentment. The thing I love that Turtledove does is he includes single fringe movements of our timeline into the narrative of this timeline. The British politician Oswald Mosley in our timeline ran a small group called the British Union of Fascists. They were promptly shut down once the war began. However, in Turtledove's world, Mosley's views are not only mainstream, they're prominent. He leads a group called the Silver Shirts, which influenced the British Parliament into a hardline stance. In France, they are simply done with democracy altogether. The Republican experiment failed in the eyes of many Frenchmen. In one group, the Action Française, I'm terrible at French, come to power to install their leader as the new French monarch, Charles XI. The 1930s begins with an age of economic turmoil. It appears that radicalism has grown throughout the Western world. The only one left is the Confederate States. The stock market crash exploded the popularity of the Freedom Party, and Jake Featherston as the new leader of the South.
Yeah, that'll do it. Desperation will cause all types of people to do all types of things. I've already talked about it, how the reason Germany was able to do what it did was because not so much that they agreed with the policies of Hitler, it was just that you're so desperate, it's like, okay, this dude has a plan, everybody else has tried stuff, it doesn't work, we're, out on our ass right now, we are in debt, we can't feed our families, we need something, whatever, what do you got for us? And while the economy and stuff was building up under Hitler, they had this entire underbelly of heinous things that he was doing. I'm not, actually, now that I think about it, like, were regular Germans aware of the Holocaust? Like, I get the Nazis were aware of it, but what about, like, the public? Like, were they all, like, did they know about the Holocaust? And were they like, were they for it? Or was it like, it's a price, but, the economy's doing okay. Like, I want to know exactly what their mindset was. But, yeah, like I said, people overlook certain things if you're giving them benefits in some way. And that's just human nature. But still, it's fascinating how you change that one part of history and, like, the entire Western world just jumps over to fascism.
In quick succession, Featherston was voted into office along with his party, where they abolished the Supreme Court and voted to make Featherston effectively president for life.
Oof.
The main rhetoric Featherston preached was he wanted the states back that the United States took during the war. Sinclair agreed to allow the people of the states of Houston, Sequoia, and Kentucky to vote in 1941.
Houston is the
all
western
but
part of
Sequoia
Texas.
voted to get back into the CSA. The deal was the South wouldn't demand any more after this, but this wasn't enough for Featherston, who demanded Sequoia back. You see, Featherston wanted a war no matter what. It was something he had prepared for decades,
So he gave him an
and his
ultimatum,
allies
pretty
across
much.
the sea war as well. There had to be a breaking point, and there was. Wilhelm II of Germany died, and his son, Wilhelm III, refused to allow France its captured territory back. For the new alliance, this was enough to declare war. Featherston set his sights on Ohio. Ohio was the
What?
heartland of the US, and if it was, say, successfully annexed, the US would be split in half. This planned invasion is called Operation Blackbeard. In August 1941, the Confederates invaded the United States, crossing the Ohio River and into American territory. In the span of a week, they fought to Lake Erie, and the military presence that was there was entirely destroyed. Featherston wasn't too smart. He planned that the Yankees would surrender when they saw such an act of military incursion, but the new president, Al Smith, wasn't too keen on being friendly to the South. The Americans were ready for a fight, and this time to end the Confederate issue once and for all.
So far, history has been very fortunate that, at least modern history, has been very fortunate that all the like dictators and people that fight for absolute power tend to be, for the most part, idiots. Like they tend to be very ignorant and don't know a lot about how humans actually work. Like they can manipulate people, but usually those are people that are like gullible or already susceptible of being manipulated by somebody. That's usually why they always go for intellectuals and stuff first when they take over a country and try to like take out the arts, take out science, and take out the intellectuals, because they know that those are people that can easily see through their bullshit. But yeah, like I said, it's fortunate that nobody has like been really smart and have taken over a country and, you know, done things like this, because history would be completely different if that was the case.
Featherston and the CSA effectively signed their death sentence with the invasion of Ohio, and so World War II began. The conflict would be even more devastating as the North and South fight for the fourth and perhaps final time. And that is where Emperor Tigerstar comes in to finish off this series. I think he's been waiting to for a very long time. I could talk about this book all day, and there's plenty of smaller details I've left out. So if you want to read about how these events occur, I seriously recommend these books spanning a century of alternate history. So, what series do you want me to cover next, if any? Tell me in the comments. This is Cody of Alternate History Hub.
Yeah, I made the comment about the music earlier because I actually like the melody and stuff of the Live and Die in Dixie song, or I think that's what it's called, Dixieland, I think. I don't know, I forgot the exact title of the song, but I actually like the melody and the way it plays. It's just, whenever I think about the song, I also think about like slavery and segregation and stuff. Yeah, I will be reacting to the fourth part of this video. It'll be up with my next batch of uploads. I gotta stop saying tomorrow, because usually whenever I say tomorrow, I'm referring to when I try to film the reaction, not necessarily when it uploads. So my next batch of videos will have part 4 of this in it. I look forward to seeing you guys there. For those of you that don't know, I have started doing a reaction to a TV series called The In-Betweeners. The first episode should be up along with this video, and I'm planning on doing another TV series reaction. Right now I'm leaning towards the final or not final, but the latest season of Rick and Morty. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. I'm also thinking at some point I'm going to do a reaction to the latest season of My Hero Academia, and I'm planning on doing a reaction to all of the seasons of Star Wars Clone Wars, the CG animated one, not the very first one that was hand-drawn. But you guys let me know what you think. And about this, I'm really liking it. I love alternate history stuff. I am subscribed to Alternate History Hub. I haven't watched this one, maybe because the title was the first episode was called like A World with a Southern Victory or something like that, so I probably just skimmed over it, not really thinking too much of it. Had it been called something like What Would Happen If the South Won the Civil War, then I probably would have clicked on it, but for some reason I like went over it. So I'm glad I had a chance to go back and check this out. It was something that popped up as a recommendation after I got done with the oversimplified Civil War videos, which, by the way, you can check out. I might have a card somewhere up here pop up for it. And so far, it's very interesting. I gotta go back to Alternate History Hub's channel and see what other videos they might have that I haven't had a chance to look at. And if you want to do that, I will have a link for their channel pop up right around here. So the last 30 seconds of the video, a link will pop up, or a icon will pop up that you can click on. That'll take you to their channel. Watch their videos, subscribe, like, all the other good stuff. And like I said, the original link will be in the description box down below. If you haven't seen it already, now's your chance to click on it and show them some support. It's not just about whether or not you've seen the video. It's about showing the original content creator support so that they can continue to make these types of videos. You watching a video allows them to get ad revenue. That money goes towards them making new videos or motivating them to make new videos, whatever it is. Be sure to do that. With that being said, I'm going to give you guys the deuces. I'm Devon DaVinci. Hopefully you've just been a little more enlightened. And I'll see you later. Deuces.